Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Talking Triathlon, where James Bale talks to Tim Ford. You guessed it, about the sport of triathlon. I am that guy called Tim Ford, and that is the very enthusiastic James Bale. He's up, he's at 'em. It's bright and early. He absolutely loves it. Some might say that he's frothing for it. Jimbo, how you going, mate?
Yeah, really well, mate. Really well. I'm enjoying this earlier in the week recording thing we've got going on. It kind of gets the weight of the podcast recording we need to do out of the way earlier in the week, and it frees up a slide towards the weekend. I'm well, man. How are you?
No, I think yeah. I don't know if I told. Anyway, I've been having some health challenges lately, and yeah, not going to drop the scary C word, but there was the risk of it. But it got the all clear this week, so I'm
Oh, good news.
extremely happy about that. It's been weighing me down for the last probably. I think yeah, I've definitely been a little bit distracted the last couple of weeks waiting for this, but got the all clear uh,
Cheers
two
to
days
that,
ago.
mate.
Mate, yeah, what a relief. Guys, if you're, and girls, if you're listening, don't ignore things. Go and get checked. Even if it is nothing, the peace of mind is absolutely worth it. But yes, that is where we're at now. I just realized that we have started.
You've started what? We can't hear you at the moment for some reason, mate. You've muted yourself for some reason somehow.
That's because I realized I've got the wrong microphone connected, so I'm going to change
Oh,
that.
there we go. There you go.
There we go. That's better. Sorry about that, everybody. It might have sounded a bit weird to start, but we fixed it in the only a minute and a half in. It's because I've literally just jumped off a call straight into this, so it is a little bit hectic. But no, to answer your question, no, things are going really, really well, Jimbo. How about you, mate? What's new in your world?
What's new in my world? I've come out of this sort of two and a half week, 3 week cold, brutal cough thing, and I'm easing back into training, which is nice. It feels like I'm forever saying that at the moment. I'm easing back into training. I never seem to get on the treadmill and kind of have a long period where everything's going in the right direction. But what's new? Not a huge amount. I'm just assessing my options and just thinking about how best to keep fit going forward that isn't a sort of a peak and a trough. I'm trying to find that sweet spot where I'm just doing enough training to be as fit as I can be without derailing myself in the long term. So that's my kind of inner turmoil at the moment.
Interesting. So you need to build a bit more, what's the word we want to say, durability, or you don't want to have those peaks and
Yeah.
troughs because you seem to be pushing a little bit too far, either getting sick or a little
Yeah,
bit of a niggle, and then okay, interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, look, it's.
I'm just
I
trying to
think
find that sweet spot right now.
I mean, I did see that your other podcast, Get Out in It, was talking about the fact that you may or may not have done a race where you were a little bit fluey. Uh, is that maybe something you could?
Yeah. Well, I mean that's the odd mistake I tend to make. I like I said to you last week, I did the Bristol Half Marathon and I was not better. I told myself I was better, but I wasn't better. I did a very made a very poor decision to go and race that half marathon with the end of a cold and a lingering cough and a feeling of general unwellness, and I suffered for it. But I just a tight ass, and I paid the money, and I wanted the medal. It was a bad
I,
day, though, mate. It was a bad day.
I love that you have the emotional intelligence to understand that about yourself, where you're like, yeah, I'm a tight ass, and I just didn't like. Even when I know a couple of weeks ago when you were talking about doing the run with that, I think it was another one. I was like, just don't do it, mate. And I knew the reason you were just like, nah, I'm going to do it. I thought it's because he's bloody paid for this thing. But because trust me, when I talked about the fact that you no showed Norseman, I'm like, yeah, that's because you didn't have to pay for the thing. Ah, Jimbo. Anyway, I shouldn't
Yeah,
give you too much
yeah.
of a
Well,
hard time about
I
that.
took it steady. I wore a wig. I wore a big wide-brimmed hat, and I look like Andrew Flintoff in his final test, mate. I look crooked, I think is the word you use.
I think didn't you use that to describe Henry Schoeman? The photos of Henry at the championship this week, I think you said also look like Andrew Flintoff, where he's got. I mean,
That,
you know,
that was
what's the, what's the name of the hat with the flap behind it? Is it a Legionnaire's cap? I saw Henry was
yeah,
racing in
yeah.
that,
The
and again,
Legionnaires.
that's a look that needs to come back. I think I actually saw that. I've always worn a hat backwards when I run. I thought that wouldn't work. That wouldn't be very functional. But yeah, let's bring back the Legionnaire cap because I think that's quite a look for people playing along at home. But mate, should we get into it? Because there is much like last week was a little bit chaotic, and again, sorry that we jumped around a lot. It was literally just as I said we had other things going on. A lot has happened. All those races have now occurred. So, would you like to start with the fact that the PTO seems to have listened to us, or the gods of triathlon have listened to us a little bit? Do you know what I'm talking about at
Yeah,
all?
I
Or
mean,
about
yeah, go on, fill me in.
the wildcards for the Vancouver T100 race have announced. And in the women's field, there's one
All this.
particular athlete that I am extremely excited is on that start list. And that is, of course, Maya Kingma. So let's talk
Yes.
about the T100 Vancouver wildcards. We talked about the start list last week. Now, Jimbo, just straight away, Maya Kingma, why do you think she's going to be so good at T100?
I mean, she's a fantastic athlete. She's obviously she's won WTCS races. She is an incredible athlete on the bike, and I think that her very, very strong swim will allow her to be at the front in the bike, allow her to take the race to someone like Taylor Knibb by possibly being ahead of her when she comes out of the swim, I would suggest. And then build on that in the run. She's got at least a stronger run as Taylor, I would say. And so, you know, all things combined, she's the kind of athlete who could be a Nib dethroner.
Yeah, I completely agree with exactly what you said. I think that if I had to pick two athletes that are similar in style, it would be Taylor Knibb and Mike Kingma because they're both front packs, both very good swimmers, absolute beasts on the bike. And like Maya's not a bad runner. It's
And
just she's had
enough of a good runner to win that race.
well, I
She's
think I
not
think
she's not the runner of the field, but
no. But again, she's remember that 10K she ran, which was faster than Gwen Jorgensen's best ever 10K. Like I think Maya
yeah.
can run. She's very susceptible. And again, I don't know if it's still the case, but she was very susceptible to injuries in the past. I know she had a lot of run problems, so she's always
A
had
lot
to
of
sort of be
Achilles issues, wasn't there, in the
yeah,
past.
she's had to be quite careful with the approach to run. But I think those two, in terms of if you had to look at their skill set, they're extremely similar on paper. And no, I think every time they've raced WTCS together, it's always been anytime you've seen Taylor Knibb make that attack. I mean, not obviously not every time, but the majority of the time when those two race, Maya is one of those people shutting it down. Like Maya is such a front of the race racer that she does in recent years tend to have dropped off a little bit on the bike. Like I genuinely thought going into Tokyo, she was a real chance at a podium just because of that swim bike combination. We saw her win. It was Leeds, right? It was WTCS Leeds, the year that Lucy Charles
It
raced it.
was, yeah.
That was when she
Yeah,
won,
yeah.
and it was that same thing, that swim bike pack. I think it was her, Jess Lemont, and Sophie Caldwell off the front,
Yep.
and Maya just held on. And I think that yeah, her and Taylor, and I mean let's put Kay Woff in there as well. I think another athlete of that same ilk where Kate has a very very good swim bike combination, and her run isn't bad either. Like they're none of them are bad runners. They're just not the Bograns or the Darrens or the Gentles. They're
Yeah, exactly. But this is the point, this is the moment when being a triathlete really sings, isn't it? Because when you've got that swim power and the bike power to back it up, you don't need to be the world's greatest 10K runner, the world's greatest 18K runner to finish it off. You just need to be a really, really fucking good one.
I also think what we're going to see in this, which we haven't seen as much in the women's race as we have in the men's race in T100 in particular, is that we're now going to have a bit of a pack at the front because you're going to have Taylor Knibb, you're going to have, I believe, Jess Lim off the top of my head. I actually can't remember, but even just having Taylor Knibb and Mike Kingma, let's throw Kate Woff in there. It's not just going to be one or two women. It's going to be a group of them, which means that they're going to swim together, they're going to ride together, and then I think it's almost going to be, unless the Ash Generals and that are able to get on, I don't care how good a runner you are, you're not going to be able to run into. I mean, what we saw Kate Woff do in Singapore, I think we're going to see something similar, except it's not going to be a kind of off form Jess Lemont just survive in the run. I think we're actually going to see a bit of a battle between athletes. Like I said, very, very similar athletes. So could be very exciting. My only little thing is I just wish the course was a bit more of a biker's course because I think it's quite a technical, lapped, flat, sort of fast course in Vancouver. So I just wish it was like a bit more like San Fran because then they could, I think, really, really do some damage. But no, this single wild card just for me is again, Mike, I'm a fan, but
Have
understanding,
you
I
got the
think
rest
that
of the wild cards there?
Yeah, I do. And I mean, the other thing is that it's not just the Maya Kingma show. Like they've done an exceptional job with the wildcards of this race. So you've got Megan McDonald, who I think did she get she's had a wild card last year off the top of my head. She's a British pro. Then we got Alice Beto, the Italian short course athlete. I know Alice from Super Try. She was part of the team that I managed a couple of years ago. Maya Kingma, as I said. Uh, Katie Kivioja. Sorry, that's a rough name. Was she? No, it's somebody else. Dominika Jemenecki, another short course Canadian. She used to race the short course stuff as well. And then Marlene de Boer and Daniela Kleiser. So a few little short course athletes, being added to that start list, which means we're seeing, as we sort of said, that post-Olympic transition where the athletes are going to step up in distance. And I have a feeling as well that if San Fran didn't directly sort of clash or conflict with that Italian WTCS race in a couple of weeks, we'd probably see a few of these same athletes on that start list as well. So it's that, I guess, byproduct of the jam-packed season. But I really personally really like to see more of these WTCS races, athletes stepping up into the T100. I think it is that natural next spot. But what do you think about those wild cards in the women's race?
Yeah, I think, like you say, I think the addition of some of these short course athletes is going to be really interesting to see how it shakes out. I do like, I think we've already mentioned, the most exciting athlete on that list is Maya Kingma for me. I really think she could shift the dynamic of the race. The others, you never know because, like you said, like we saw with Kate Woff, she came in. It was her first T100, stepping up from short course and won the thing. So you can't ever say none of the other athletes are going to do anything because you might just see somebody come and have an absolute blinder and really take to this distance. So that I think is the most exciting thing about the T100 is that when they do add these wild cards in, you never know what you're going to get because the distance isn't it's not an Ironman distance. It doesn't take a few times of honing your skills to get used to that complete change and that complete day out. It is the sort of distance where a short course athlete could come and just rely on their existing skill set to have a blinder.
I think as well, it's worth noting, particularly with the Maya specifically, is that Maya's not one of these short course athletes that just sits in drafts and drops a fight. Like Maya could lead the entire 40K of a WTCS race and pull away from the chat. Like I don't think the 80K TT with a 20-minute draft is going to be an issue for Maya Kingma at all. Maybe a slight question mark over time in the TT position. I don't know how long if she's been on a TT bike much, but that's probably the only little caveat. But I think that yeah, do not question. Just like we saw with Kate Woff, in Singapore. I'm not worried about that being a factor at all. I don't think there's a bike weakness there to worry about. I really think, like I said, you add in, and then you think that we could have a Georgia Taylor Brown later in the season as well. Imagine if we get to the point where we've got Taylor Nibb, Kate Woff, uh, Georgia Taylor Brown, Maya Kingma, Jeanne Lehair. But I just think there's this group of athletes that are such a similar sort of skill set. It could lead to some really exciting racing because I know that we were saying at this earlier with Taylor Nibb sort of there, it's a bit irrelevant, I guess. Like it just seems like she's going to win everything. I feel like they're sort of going, oh, yeah, is that what you think, Tim and James? We're going to show you guys. We're going to do things specifically to make that not as obvious. So I just think this is exceptional. I mean, I love this. Well done, T100, Maya Kingma. I know you listen. You're gonna smash it, mate. I cannot wait. I'm so excited to see Maya race. I think she's going to do really, really well. Um, Men's wildcards again. Chef's kiss to the men's wildcards. We've got Miguel Hidalgo, the Brazilian. Uh, Panagiotis Bitados, who we saw race recently and absolutely crushed that run. We were talking about him a couple of weeks ago. Aaron
Mm.
Royal, Jackson Laundry, Jake Birtwistle. Again, I think a really strong selection of wildcards and a good use of the wildcards because Bitados is sort of the hot thing at the moment after that absolutely dominating win that he had. It's good to see there's sort of a bit of a reaction to that. So I'm
Yeah,
very keen.
they're really using the existing environment and ecosystems to their benefit, aren't they, by picking names that are relevant in the current conversation, and that is good to see. Um, Always good to see Aaron Roll and Jake Birtwistle on the start line as well.
There is one question. There is one name that eludes the start list of the inaugural, not never, I know they had the Edmonton race, but the T100 inaugural race in Canada. And that is
Canada's number one athlete
the most famous Canadian, Lionel Sanders
of all
himself.
time.
I honestly am very, very disappointed to not see him on that start list. Now, I don't obviously have
Were you
zero insight.
expecting to see him on the start list?
Kind of was, to be honest. I
Were
feel
you?
like I
Oh, oh, mate, I feel bad for you.
why what is it? Why don't you think he will? What could be the issue?
I think I put this note in the Patreon group the other day when someone brought up why Lana Sanders wasn't on the wildcard list, and I genuinely believe it's a stubbornness thing. I believe he's a man whose mind is very hard to change once he's made it. That doesn't, obviously, when it comes to his training, he changes his mind a lot, but it's on his own terms. I just don't believe he has his mind changed by others particularly well. Hence why he coaches himself. It's all related into this kind of extremely stubborn. I've made my mind up, so I'm going to stick to what I've said I'm going to do
I think
until I
that's
decide to do something else.
why has he made up his mind? Like that's kind of where I'm at. Like, what is it about it
Yeah,
that's made him
I
go, I
don't
don't want to do
know.
this?
You would think you would think the opportunity to race a T100 in Canada would be something that he would be chomping at the bit for, but that is the frustration and the beauty of an athlete like Lionel Sanders is when you say the words you would think, he's thinking something completely fucking different.
Has he ever
He
done a
is
T100 like
he
a
lives on a
PTO
plane of
event?
existence that I cannot comprehend, mate.
I need to look
Okay?
this up. Has he ever done a PTO event? I'm looking this up. No, 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 no. Okay, so he did the PTO US Open in 2023, which was which one was that? 2023. That was Dallas, I believe. Yeah, I
Testing my
think.
memory. He's
Let's. He
I think he's
DNF'd.
just on his
Oh no,
he's on his Ironman Pro Series train.
10/11th.
He may be determined to actually commit to something and really see it through. And it seems to be working for him.
No,
Right now, he's having a blinder.
I take it back. That was Milwaukee. It was the race that Jan
Okay,
beat Christian. He came 11th.
right.
So he did that one.
He appears to be on an absolute blinder at run of form at the moment. So I really want to see where the year takes him. I don't want him to start dotting about. I really would like to see him, whatever he's committed to, see it through and see where that leads. Because I want to see him do well.
Is he committed to the Pro Series? Has he said that? I haven't followed closely enough.
Well, whatever he's committed to, he's raced two Pro Series races, isn't he? He's
Yeah.
won them. And so either he's just honing his skills, honing in on Nice, or he's committed to the Pro Series. Either one, I want to see where it ends up.
Mm. You see, I definitely get that. I just think that ducking over and doing a T100 race isn't. It's not like we're asking him to. If he's doing a whole season of 70.3, it's not like we're asking him to go and do an Ironman, for example. I feel like it's not a
No,
huge.
agreed. And there's every chance he'd go and win it as well with the form he's on right now.
Interestingly, though, and again, this is something that I really appreciate the WhatsApp group for sort of, and not just that, but others I've spoken to. Do you actually think he would, considering that I think of any form of racing at the moment, the swim seems to be the most important at T100. So do you think that he could? Like we saw Sam Long, who, a couple of years ago
No,
was
no,
able to sort of race through.
I don't think he'd be the favorite, but he's got that kind of right now, he's on a real rich vein of form. He's got momentum going in. He's got the wind at his back, his tail's up, to use all the little sayings I can use.
Yeah,
He may
yeah.
just go in and have an absolute blinder.
Well, I mean, even if he did have a swim deficit, firstly, his deficit wasn't that significant in St. George, but he rode all that time into like Magnus Ditlev, right? So quickly into the first however bit of time. Like he ended up with what, 3 minutes over Sam Long, who's an extremely strong cyclist as well. I actually wonder if maybe he could be the exception to the rule. Again, the curious part of me just like, what if? I'd love to see him race for one of them at least this year. I think it'd be very, very interesting. But again, I'm not going to focus on what we don't have. Instead, I think let's focus on what we do have, and what we do have is some truly exceptional wildcards. So that Vancouver race, I mean, we've still got San Francisco, which is happening in what, just over not this weekend, next weekend. Again, I think probably the pick of the courses in terms of the actual the elevation and everything. It's going to be great. So yeah, T100 is picking up, but I think it is the fact that Maya Kingma signing has just very, really, really sort of satisfied me, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. So can't wait.
Yeah, I'm really excited as well. I think every time a T100 race rolls around, it piques my interest and I really enjoy the watch. It's really strange. It's like I enjoy the watch of the T100 because of everything that comes with it. The racing sometimes isn't quite as good as some of the pro racing, but I don't enjoy the watch of the pro racing because it
Mm.
just pisses me off.
Mm. I mean, I was unfortunate this weekend that the time of the pro racing didn't really suit me. So yeah, anyway, let's move on to the next thing to discuss. And another thing that makes me exceptionally happy is WTCS Yokohama happened over the weekend, and Mr. Bale, I do believe that you might have picked the winner.
Well, I mean, on a technicality, I did. We both picked Cassandra Beaugrand to win the women's race.
Did we?
Um,
I thought you changed.
with her, we did, yeah, with her crashing out. My second place, which was Jeanne Lehair, um, took the win, which I was really, really pleased to see. I think she's a fantastic athlete. And to see her come through and take that victory in 151.33 ahead of Beth Potter in 151.37, ahead of Lisa Turch in 151.39 with Gwen Jorgensen in fourth. Um, yeah, I thought that was a really, really strong result for her. I think she did exceptionally well. And I've got a lot of belief in her as an athlete and someone who I think we're going to see go from strength to strength. See, now watch her crash out of the entire season now, but yeah,
But firstly, seeing Jeanne Lehair win this made me so happy. One of my favorite athletes in doing short course.
yeah.
And I think that seeing what happened to her in Paris last year was pretty hard to see. And, certainly not having the season last year that I think we know she's capable of. You could see the emotion of how much this meant to her. Like it was a big deal. So I love that. I mean, if you look at that podium, that is a very, very, very good podium. Lehair, Beth Potter back on the podium as well, and then Lisa Tersch, three very good athletes. I think that was great. But the other thing is Gwen Jorgensen in fourth place. I'm so happy to see Gwen Jorgensen right back at the pointy end of WTCS racing. And I saw Talbot Cox put up a post this week on Instagram, and he was talking about the fact that this is the first time where she's actually just been able to focus on racing, not have to worry about chasing qualification points, all the political stuff that seems to happen behind the scenes with triathlon. And this is what she's done. And I thought he's probably hit the nail on the head a little bit, to be honest. I know that, we saw that there was issues around, she qualified a spot for a race that they then gave to, I think, Katie Zafiris because they wanted to, there's all this stuff. So to see Gwen Jorgensen back at WTCS Yokohama finish fourth place was, yeah, it was brilliant.
Yeah, I think oh, sorry, just woken up. I think yeah, I think it's really good. And she's currently second in the standings overall as well, going into having just gone to race two. And I think it's like I said earlier, it's going to be a real thing to see her go through the rest of the season. I thought it was a real shame that Cassandra crashed out. I hope it doesn't dent her current confidence levels because we're seeing her really ride a wave into this year, having got that gold medal last year, and I'd like to see that confidence continue.
I think let's talk about the Cassandra Bergeron crash a little bit because I think you're exactly right. We spoke about the fact that last week, we were basically singing her praises, talking about how it feels like those challenges that she's faced in the past around confidence seem to be behind her. And I know that the morning of Paris Olympics, when we saw it was a bit wet, I thought, oh, this is the worst possible conditions for Cassandra Bergeron. Like, this is a disaster. Because I've not just talking as a pundit or like as a viewer, I've been with Cassandra at a race when it's wet and I know where her mind goes. Like firsthand, this is I've lived it. So to see her then do what she did in Paris, I thought, oh, this is it. It's so good. It's behind her. And then for this to happen, my first thought was, is this going to undo all of that hard work? Is this going to undo and knock her confidence that we could actually see her, I guess, take a step back? I don't know. Yeah,
I
I
hope
was,
not. I hope
yeah.
not. I really, I love this kind of Cassandra sort of version two that we're seeing, where she puts that lack of confidence on the bike in the wet to one side and just plays to all of her strengths and they all come together. I hope that the success she's found recently overrides anything that this one incident brings.
Yeah, I hope so too. Because again, I love to see. Um, I've loved to follow Cassandra's journey, career for a number of years, and yeah, you don't want to see an athlete like that, which is sort of in that, I guess, the peak of their career. So again, I don't even know if she's injured, so it didn't look like a very good crash. At least the benefit is, because I say this, it sounds a bit funny, right? I guess the good thing is because it's wet, there's more sliding. Like she hit the ground and then sort of slid, so you're hoping it's not too much of an impact crash. But no,
More
it
road rash
was
than impact, hopefully. Not that road rash is fun.
exactly.
Mm.
Interestingly, Taylor Spivey was there, didn't come fourth this time. Finished ninth
No,
place.
ninth place, wasn't it?
Yeah, ninth place. But
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, I love Yokohama. I love that it is just a staple of the WTCS calendar now. So really good to see. Yeah, good racing happening in.
I think it's interesting seeing Gwen Jorgensen in fourth as well. I think, you know, from where she's coming back from.
Yeah, and I know people playing who are listening. James's daughter just joined us. So what I was basically saying, mate, is I think that
So
we're
you were
seeing
you
her.
so I basically subbed in the wrong name when from what you were. I got distracted for a moment.
It's all good.
Yeah, yeah.
I
I
was
hear
basically
you.
just saying,
I hear
I
you.
think that it's really good to see. And what the Talbot Cox post that I spoke about said was that, you take away all the politics and the need and everything, and actually just allow her to focus on her performance. This is what we see. So I think there's,
That's who you were talking about when I got distracted momentarily by my little girl who'd just woken up.
yeah, yeah. So
There we go.
I actually think he sort of hit the nail on the head there, to be honest. These
Yeah.
athletes, again, I'm going to have to not rant too much, but I think these athletes face so many pressures uh, that are a little not conducive to performance. And when you see an athlete like Gwen actually get the chance to just do her thing and focus with a bit of confidence behind her, this is what we see. So, come on, Gwen. I'd love to see you do an Ironman. It would be so good to see Gwen Jorgensen try Ironman. Um,
So
anyway,
we both nailed the men's predictions, didn't we?
we did, mate. I
It
was
was
close. I got first and second. I was close to the clean sweep. I was
Yeah,
close to the clean
yeah,
sweep.
yeah. Who did I pick for second? I can't remember now, but I know that we both picked Matt Hauser. I thought it was a foregone conclusion that win, to be honest. The
So
way
did
he's
I.
been performing, the looking at the start list, the guy, he's an amazing athlete. He's a great bloke, and it was lovely to see.
This race, the men's race, was really interesting to watch, right? Because there was sort of weirdly the usual suspects of that front pack weren't necessarily. There was kind of two front packs. There was a split. There was a group, and I think they were about 20. Actually, what was it, 20 odd seconds up? And what I found interesting was that the group actually caught the lead group. So instead of it, I mean, it's what we sort of see, right? And I know that. Um, Listening to Joe Skipper talk with Johnny Brownlee on his podcast a couple of weeks ago, where they were talking about how that the Brownlees used to literally get out of the waterfront pack and absolutely rip the legs off everybody in the bike. We don't really see that much anymore. I sort of think that's kind of true because the group with like Tyler Mizachuk in it, bridging back up to that lead group, I didn't expect because the gap was sort of enough not to, and they must have absolutely drilled it to do that. I think you picked Leo Berger for second, just while I was speaking. Um,
Okay.
yeah, and we saw this big group come off, and then it was a bit of a run race. And even the run race was a bit like it was quite fascinating because you had the three guys off the front, and just even the stuff again, typical triathlon where you do sort of see the focus at the front, but to see the way that the dynamics changed in that top 10, even where you had guys who were sort of right up in the top five at one point, finish outside the top 10. Yeah, it was fascinating. And then Hauser sort of kicked and kicked again, and
Mm.
Vasco went with him for a while, and then just couldn't. And yeah, like really, this is the difference, I suppose, to this race last year or other times is when it's Hayden and Alex doing that, you know that when Alex kicks, Hayden ain't going with him. Whereas
Yeah.
in this situation, you don't actually know. Like Vasco, you could go with him. Will Vasco? It was a bit uncertain, which I thought made it really, really exciting.
Yeah, especially when Hidalgo was there as well up until about a kilometer to go.
Yeah.
And when they kicked, he fell off. Velasco went with Hauser, and then you've got this race to the line, which which really makes for exciting racing. And I think what also made for exciting racing was the fact that Morgan Pearson and Hugo Milner weren't in the lead bike group. So it was basically over for them by the time by the time the run started, they were out of the game.
Yeah, they really, really were, to be honest. Like it was I sort of semi forgotten a little bit that they were even there. Just again, and that's not to be unkind. It's just the nature of this rate. Like the fact that one frustration I did have was that because the gaps were getting so significant at certain points, is you wouldn't even have all 10, like the splits would vanish off the screen before you'd even see the top 10 fit. Like, I'm like, no, just, I want to see I understand that we got to move to a different shot, but I still want to see where everybody else is in terms of their position and stuff. But I thought that this, again, both races, I have been a little cold on WTCS racing so far this year, but this, I mean, the conditions were horrific. It's worth pointing out. Cassandra didn't crash because she's terrible. The rain was like torrential. Uh, Certainly changed the dynamic, but no, it was very, very enjoyable racing from Yokohama. And like I said, I like this race. It's a race I enjoy watching. I think that some great performances certainly help. So we had Matt Hauser in first place with a 141.07, Vasco Vilaca second place 141.14, third place Miguel Hidalgo 141.28. Now I think Hidalgo's got the wild card for Vancouver. I was talking about earlier. Then Leo Bajet fourth, Dorian Connick's fifth, Tyler Mizachuk sixth, and yeah, really, really
Sixth
good
place for
racing.
Tyler's really good, I thought.
Talking with him
Really
after,
good.
literally talking with him after. He's like, "How did that happen?" Like normally for people who don't know so much, Tyler's exceptional in the heat, but he's useless as tits on a bull when it comes to cold weather. Like he's
Yeah, yeah.
really he's shit out. And Tyler, I know you listen, mate. You're not going to hate me saying that because you know it too. So much so that when we got Tyler's wetsuit sponsor for this, which is Dabua, we specifically requested that they've got a cold weather wetsuit, which is designed for, swimming in Norway, for example. And we actually requested that for Tyler's wetsuit, just because anything we can do to keep him warm during a swim is a good thing. So,
Poor
yeah,
little muffin, eh?
exactly. He'll be all right. But no, excellent, excellent racing at WTCS Yokohama. I thought it really, 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 really was good. Good to watch. Good, exciting racing. And the series is looking good, mate. I mean, there's even just looking at the top 10, there's some interesting, Matty Hauser's first place, Vasco Velasquez second, Hidalgo third, obviously 1, 2, 3. But then you got, Ben Dijkstra from Great Britain's in fifth place, Leah Berger still up there in seventh, Hayden's still there, Tyler's still there. These are a lot of guys that you wouldn't like, I mean, I expect we'll probably not see Hayden. I mean, I don't know how long the recovery is going to be from that horrific injury.
Mm.
Did you see the scans of Hayden's X-ray?
Yeah, it's not great, is it?
Mate, I like
Yeah.
Hayden. I'm everything's crossed for a really speedy recovery for your legend because it
Yeah, yeah.
like the way the ribs were all just like yeah, and the scar,
So
mate, was
good.
absolutely gnarly. But I don't. Yeah, anyway, what I'm saying is I think we're seeing some interesting movements in that WCS series, and there's another race in, like I said, 2 weeks or a week and a half in
Yeah.
Italy. So
On the season rolls, eh?
exactly right. What's next, mate? What do you want to turn our attention to next? Because there is just plenty of things to start discussing.
Should we mention the championship?
Let's talk about the championship because it was an interesting day in Slovakia.
Yes, it
What do you got
was.
for
On
me?
the men, sorry.
What have you got for me?
On the men's side, Kristen Hogenhaug took the victory in 3:23.53, head of Henry Orapo in 3:25.52, which I'm sure that's not how you pronounce his surname, and Kieran Linders in 3:25.53. On the women's side, it was Hannah DeVette, 3:48.56, Daisy Davies, 3:50.09, and Anastasia Nielsen in 3:53.46. These were races I didn't get to watch across the weekend, but I'm hoping you did.
No, I didn't. Again, as I said, the timing didn't work. I've watched bits and pieces of it only because I was trying to find out that I was trying to get the results, and you need to download a challenge app to get the results, which I didn't want to do. So I was like, trying to go through because again, I slept. This was the night for us. Uh, so I've watched bits and pieces, but mate, Hogan Haag just seemed to got on the bike, did his thing, and got off the bike. I think with like a 3 minute gap, and never sort of seemed threatened. But
Yeah, pretty
behind
much.
that, it ended up being quite exciting because second, third, and fourth was you've got actually I don't know how to pronounce that A with the if it's similar to Norwegian Ropo, taking second 325.52, Linda's 325.53, and Draper 325.56. So we're talking 4 seconds separating
Yeah,
three
so that was
finishes.
a fast finishing second, third, and fourth with a tight selection made across the line. Um, Basically came down to a sprint for the three of them.
How about Kieran Linda's mate? Like this kid has gone from being a relative unknown to last year finishing second to Christian Blumenfeld in Frankfurt. And he's popping up at every race and he's not just sort of going through the motions. He's right up there. You love to see it. And I know
Yeah,
I really am very happy to see the progress he's making. Like it feels like Kieran Linders is here now. He's that one of those new names that we're going to be talking about more and more this year and into the future.
stone cold progression, isn't it? At the end of the race, your winner, Christian Hogenhaug, said, I don't know if I ever see a win coming, but I felt incredible in the lead up to this race. So I knew if I had the same legs that I had the training, I could do really well. I knew from last year I couldn't just do short effort on the bike. It had to be long to tire the other guys. When I settled in a pace, it was still pretty good watts. Normally I'm a little careful on the first lap, but of the run, but this time I decided to go really hard to try and extend the lead, and then I could more or less enjoy the last lap. Banging.
Yeah. Now, in the women's race, and I do not want to be that guy that like identifies Hannah for her partner because I think that Hannah is an incredible athlete on her own right, but this is obviously Hayden Wild's partner, so has been going through a bit of turmoil in recent weeks, considering her partner
Yeah,
had a
probably
terrible crash.
probably travel she wasn't expecting type, not only the emotional load, but also additional traveling around, dealing with things, assisting in certain ways that she wasn't expecting, which might have derailed the run into this race. So it's yeah, certainly worth mentioning, I think, how well she's done here.
Plus, she's also got a wild card coming up for the San Francisco race in like 2 weeks. I actually, when I saw that, I kind of didn't expect to see her here. Like throwing everything in together. This is the biggest win of her career. I think it's like this is kind of similar to what I was talking about Kieran Linders. I know that we followed Hannah, and again, not because she's Hayden's girlfriend, but because she was doing short course. We saw her sort of step up last year into middle distance, and same thing. It's not just a case of Hannah DeVeet on a start list, and you're like, oh, there she winning the championship. So yeah, I think another name that is going to be spoken about more and more often. She won this on the run. She sort of got off the bike with somebody else, and then they ran together, and she just sort of dropped it and went away. So again, the championship, as I said, I think the challenge does deserve a bit more credit for what they do. Like they really are sort of trying to become that development ground, I suppose, for the that next tier of pros. But it gives them a good total prize plus 100 grand, mate. Like this isn't nothing, and
No, no, absolutely not. And Hannah ran a 1:18:22 off the bike, which was the fastest half marathon of the top three, with Elizabeth Cattadori of Italy running the fastest half marathon day at 1:17:43. So, Hannah put in a really strong swim and bike to give herself the buffer on the run, but also a fast run for those top three athletes.
now I think we also have to talk about the fact that a certain athlete retired on the weekend. This was Richard Varga's final professional race. And again, for people playing along at home who maybe don't follow the racing as much, Richard Varga is probably the greatest swimmer to do the sport ever. And again, I really encourage everybody to go listen to Johnny Brownlee's interview with Joe Skipper that he did a few weeks ago. But Johnny was talking about the fact that, so again, Richard Varga, obviously not British, but was a training partner of the Brownlees. I think he's kind of partially responsible in some part for Ali's gold medals because he literally led the swim. But Johnny was talking about the fact that when Richard Varga was on the front, they would be single file at the front of a WTCS race, and you're swimming to hold on, like you're holding on for dear life because the pace was just so high. So yeah, sort of transitioned up to middle distance, continued to race. This was his last race, and I think that this is a guy that maybe not so much hasn't had the success himself. Like he's not, he doesn't have the two gold medals, but he's certainly
Fucking
played a
hell of a
big
swimmer,
part.
don't he?
Yeah, he's
Jesus,
definitely
I
played a
made the
part in
mistake a
triathlon.
few years ago of buying his branded wetsuit, you know. That was a fucking stupid thing to do. It was too good for me. It was too thin, not enough buoyancy. I just couldn't. You need
Can
to be a
you
really fucking good swimmer.
I'd love to understand your mindset. I'd love to understand the thought process that James Bell goes through where he goes, Richard Varga, the best swimmer in the sport. I know what I need. I need his wetsuit's gonna I'm gonna swim like Richard Varga if I just buy his wetsuit. Like explain to me the
I
process.
The process was I made contact with somebody in the sport, asked them what wetsuit they could do for the cheapest for me at that point, and that was the one.
That's not very good.
It's
That's
not.
pretty
It was
anticlimactic
just
actually.
it was simply the most cost-effective option for me, and I didn't really even take a second thought as to what was going to happen when I put it on, and what happened was I sunk.
See, I instead had this vision of you
But it
like
comes
walk.
off really quickly. It's like taking off a,
What?
well,
What do you
I don't
take
know.
off that goes
But it's not,
an all white
the really
tracksuit?
nice buoyant ones that people like me need. They take an age to fucking get off you, don't they?
I have this image of you like walking down the laneways around where you live, like kicking stones, contemplating which wetsuit to buy. And then you're like, you look into a puddle and you see a face, and then the ripples go, and it's suddenly it's Richard Vargas' face. And you go, that's it, that's
Like
the
peas in a
wetsuit.
pod. Yeah, that's the one.
We're the
That's the
same.
one.
You know, one of your most famous triathlon stories is that you managed to swim with Javier Gomez for like 100 meters or something in Mallorca
100
that
meters.
year. Tell me that
Yeah.
at the start line you said, I'm wearing Richard Vargas' wetsuit.
Unfortunately, that was a day. That was a non-wetsuit day. So
Damn. You would have
it
had him
was just
otherwise.
swimskins.
Lucky for Javier.
Probably would have done. Yeah. Well, as soon as you put me in a wetsuit, mate, I'm unstoppable. But yeah,
Bail the seal.
I've never tried so hard in anything as I did in that first 100 meters, and then I've never realized something as hard as I did in the second 400 meters.
I love the thought your kids are just in there hearing their dad say, I've never tried as hard at anything in my life as swimming next to Javier Gomez. They're like, oh, okay. Brilliant. It is one of my favorite Bell stories is that you did that. Let's move on, mate, because there's literally so many races to talk about. And this next one, there's not heaps to say apart from the fact that there was an absolute domination in Ironman Lanzarote over the weekend in the women's race. Lucy Charles-Barclay, what can we say? She smashed it, mate. Smashed her previous time
She
by like
really
20
did,
minutes.
yeah. Lucy Charles-Barclay won the race in 9:17:15 ahead of Jeanne Collonges from France in 9:37:36 and Mère Bruni from Germany in 9:38:16. It was, yeah, it was a confidence play. It was really gave me confidence in how good Lucy Charles-Barclay is right now. What are you laughing at?
Because you were so confident about how you pronounce those names. And then you immediately follow it up talking about how it's a confidence plan. I thought he was really confident when he pronounced those French and German names. You did, mate. I respect it because I could not, I would never even attempt that. And you did brilliantly. And I love it was a confidence play, James Bell. So,
Well,
mate,
Collonges is the name of the small village that I've got my apartment in France. So I know I've nailed that one.
okay.
Merle Bruni, I don't know. I don't know. It sounds a bit. I'm sound making it sound a bit more
It's
French than
great.
German, but
It's brilliant though. I love it. Where is I need to find where it's okay. Yeah, Collage is easy, and then where's the sorry, I need to get the results up. Yeah, Brunei. No, you've done well actually. But mate, you even had the accent on it. I we get criticized a lot for our inability to pronounce names, and I thought James has taken that feedback on board and he's going, no more.
hey,
There will
look,
be no
French I
more
can play
comments.
with. Don't worry. It's 50-50 whether I'm going to get it right. Don't get me wrong. Anybody out there who can actually speak French properly would listen to me and be like, you're a knob. But I do my best. Having spending a lot of time out there. German, ugh, ugh. Anyway, on the men's side, Dylan Margian from France won it in 8:27:57. Um, Jordi Motravena Moya from Spain won it in 8:28:35. And I can't do the last one. In third place, Matthias Lingzo Pettersen from Denmark in 8:31:11.
I've
But
forgotten
yeah,
what this was
from
like.
in the women's race, it's just brilliant to see Lucy Charles-Barclay be able to rock up and win like she did in such a dominating fashion, showing the class of athlete that she is. No signs of injury or illness or issues, just going out and being the champion she is and winning a race in this manner.
It also
Happy days.
allows Lucy now to continue with her season the way that she wants because
Yeah.
it's I think in terms of timing, pretty good. You know, a couple of weeks after Singapore, where she got some points in the T100 series, 2 weeks before San Francisco. I can't remember if she's on the start list, but she doesn't have to do another Ironman now until Kona. So I think it's
Yeah, totally.
you know,
Validated, sorted, tucked away.
because if you look at I suppose some other athletes like Magnus Ditlev, for example, what happened in St. George a few weeks ago. In terms of his season, he wouldn't have counted on having to change plans a little bit. Like he now has to go and change and do another Ironman if he wants to try to get the whole series. So obviously different, and I understand it's a different sort. But I think in terms of setting Lucy up for the best possible race, you know, even comparing her to Taylor Knibb, because I know that Taylor Knibb is also focusing on Kona. I think that you'd say that Lucy's done a much better job of this because she didn't skip Singapore. She's gone to Ironman and she's won it, and not just won it, she's won by 20 minutes and beaten her own best time by 20 minutes. So it's just, I think this is you know, I'm expecting Lucy is my you know, I at the moment she's top three people I think in Kona, and this is a real confidence booster for her. So yeah, I think she's set things up
Yeah,
pretty well.
yeah, yeah. I think hopefully we're seeing a part of her career now where all those little niggles and injuries are a thing of the past, and we get to see her perform. Having won her world championship now, we get to see her perform exactly as she should, race in, race out, like the champion she is, win or lose. I just want to see her there at her best, fully fit, fighting for victories.
Nothing makes me happier than I mean, that's again, if my kids were here, I don't have them, but they'd be like, nothing makes me happier than, um,
Yeah,
no,
nothing. Nothing
nothing,
makes you happy.
than watching Lucy Charles race uninjured. No, it's been literally a very up and down few years for Lucy. With you know, she wins a world title, she gets injured, she comes back, she wins a world title, she gets injured, she wins, she comes back, she wins a world. Like it's just been this constant sort of ebb and flow of success and then challenge, success and challenge. Uh, I don't want to see it anymore. I just want to see Lucy racing well and featuring in all the big races because that's why I'm a huge Lucy Charles fan. And I think that, like I said, she has the ability to dictate how things work for her this year. And yeah, this going well is very good. So uh,
All
yeah,
right.
it's great.
All
Can I
right, then, you
just
piss-taking pronunciation bastard. Where was
yeah?
the 70.3 for the pro race this weekend? Where was it, mate?
It was in France. Just one note before we move on to that. I just want to talk about the only sort of thing that I was a bit surprised by was I probably expected to see Clement Mignon, or as we like to call him, Filet Mignon,
Yeah.
a little higher. The fact that he was fifth surprised me. I actually sort of thought it was a bit of a foregone conclusion that he'd win this. So to see him fifth, yeah, does sort of raise a few like he hasn't really featured recently, and I hope whatever's going on, he sort of realized because again, he's another great athlete. You know, I still remember 2022 Kona, him running through the field, thinking this kid's got some real, you know, some real bright things in his future, and it sort of has been a little bit. Yeah, I mean, I say that he's one of ITU long distance world champs, but I just again another guy I think is capable of so much, and it was a bit disappointing to see him not be able to deliver that in Lanzarote. But no, you know, obviously when the field's great, so tough race. Yeah,
It's not an easy race. I've done it. I know it's hard. Filet was up there, in the on the bike. He led on the bike at stages. He just didn't convert on the run. And, in a race like this, when it's hot and hilly and windy, you never know how your body's going to perform when you get to that run. Mine didn't.
so you want to talk about that French race?
Yeah, we had the Pro Series 17.3 in Aix-En Provence over the weekend, and
That's how you pronounce. I was going to say that, but you were impatient and you didn't let me. Aix-en-Provence
that's
is
the one.
obviously how you say it, mate. I knew that.
And the men's race, we'll talk about that one first. I thought it was really scintillating. I'm going to use that word.
Oh, mate, isn't there
Yeah.
Can you say it with a French accent for me? Can you throw a bit of French on it?
I thought it was really, really good fun, and I enjoyed the watch. And watching um, Simon Villain from France lead the race up to a certain point on the run um, in his what is essentially his, I know it's his home country, but they were saying it was his local, so I know he's from around those parts anyway, um,
Aix-en-Provence.
there or thereabouts. to see him up there getting that support and only fading really towards the end of the run when Christian Blumenfeld lit the fuse, with Casper Stornes coming through to take second ahead of Simon Valin and Sam Dickinson in fourth, and then Pierre Lecour from France taking fifth place. Exceptional racing and really exciting until the end when Christian sparked it up.
That footage of Christian kicking
Yeah.
and is
It
just
was reminiscent of the end of the Olympics, wasn't it? Just slightly extended. He had that same facial expression, that same drive towards the end of that Olympic race. He's never not trying his absolute best, is he?
no, it's. I mean, the other thing that's worth pointing out, I don't know if you're actually aware of this, but do you know that Christian actually won the 2021 WTCS world title?
Oh, that might explain why he's quite good in these races. I didn't realize.
Yeah, yeah, world champion. I mean, world champion
Yeah,
WTCS.
that's stuff to put on a t-shirt, isn't it?
I know you love it, Christian. I think there's a lot to discuss with this race. And the first one is looking at the men's race, is that the top five are all under 110. 107, 107, 108, 108, 107. I'm looking at the Strava file now, 20.91 kilometers. So not bang on, but not bad. That's really, really serious running from
Yeah,
the
and
yeah.
not on a course that particularly um, promotes serious running. This is a twisty, windy course through an old French town with plenty of dead turns and plenty of lefts and rights and dodging barriers and people. And it's not like an out and back. You're not in fucking Bahrain here. You're making your way through an old French town with history and uneven road surfaces and all of that stuff. So to run a 107 for the win and then for every run in the top five to be under 110, it's like, boys, all right, fair play.
Like, and I mean, we're not, Sam Dickinson, right? Sam Dickinson is a guy that I've always sort of had a few question marks over. I was a bit, I questioned his inclusion in the Team GB Olympic team last year incorrectly because he absolutely helped them with that mixed team relay. But, he fourth place 108. He beats Pierre Lecour, who had the fastest 70.3 debut in history, I believe. Uh, Mate, yeah, it's incredible. And the other one is, I mean, there's so many different bits and pieces to discuss in the men's race. Casper Stornes, he's the sort of forgotten Norwegian in a few ways. 107, 17, 5 seconds behind, pushing Christian the whole way.
Yeah,
So great.
I had a real kind of whiplash moment when in the commentary they said, "Oh, it's Casper Stornes is up there." I was like, "Have they got the wrong name?" You know, for him to, because he's kind of like you say, he's I've forgotten Norwegian, but he has faded away from the narrative a little bit in recent years. For him to be back up there, he beat Christian on the swim. He was only 2 seconds slower than him on the bike, and then only 5 seconds slower than him on the run. So, you can see where that deficit came from, but it wasn't much of a deficit. And overall, those two athletes on the day are incredibly close.
I want to just clarify because I know otherwise I'll cop shit for it. When I say he's the invisible or the forgotten one, it's not that. I think the reality is that Christian and Gustav went and did what they did at World Championships in Ironman and 70.3s and sub sevens and sub eights and stuff, where Casper very much stayed true to the short course path. So Christian Gustav kind of became more of the duo because I remember before that, it was Casper won the Bermuda race where we had the Norwegian trio on the podium, which I think was 2019 off the
Yeah.
top of my head. It's not that he's still been great. I think it's more just that those guys sort of went and did their thing in a much more visible thing. I just wanted to say that because I knew otherwise I'd cop. Absolutely great performance. Gustav Eden 24th, a little concerning, I suppose. He still seems quite hit and miss because we've seen him podium in Oceanside and then he is 24th. I don't really know much about what happened, to be honest. I haven't really seen. But yeah, hopefully everything's okay with Gustav. I just want to point out
Yeah.
one other fun because there was one other thing that made me chuckle a little bit. Do you know our mate Jonas Schomburg was there
Did
doing
he
his
burst
thing?
out of T2?
So much so, this makes me laugh. And I think this probably speaks more to the fact that the Ironman timeships were a little bit accurate. But Ironman put up a reel with him running and saying 2:42 per kilometer for the first 3 kilometers. It's like, I don't think you did that. I think maybe your time that's a little bit off. But the fact that it's Jonas Schomburg makes you go, if anybody could do that, it
If
would probably be
anybody's going to
Jonas
burst out of
Schomburg.
T2, yeah, it's going to
Death
be him. And
taxes and Jonas Schomburg going out of T2 too hard. You love to see it.
it does
Yeah,
make you wonder how would he perform if he didn't burst out of T2 too hard?
you said it, mate. That
Do you think we'll
day,
ever find out?
no, what will happen is one day he will just hold on. One day he will just hold on, and we will all cheer so hard for that day.
It'll be that, or he'll hold on to the last 10 meters and be passed by Christian Blumenfeld. And it would just be one of those moments where the breakaway almost survives in a cycle race, and you're just like you're on the edge of your seat, but in the last meter they get caught and passed.
Or we'll have the next Julie Moss moment where he gets within 10 meters of the finish line, collapses, and
Yeah,
has to crawl and crawls for the win. Oh man,
yeah.
Jonas Schoenberg. No, don't stop. I love it. I love it. It's what he's known for as the death taxes and Jonas Schoenberg going out to too hard. Women's race, bit different. Bit different.
Very different. Um, yeah, a bit different. This was the kind of more similar to Lucy Charles-Barclay's victory in Lanzarote with Marjolaine Pierre from France taking the win in 4:11:57 ahead of Lizzie Rayner from Great Britain in 4:14:56 and Lena Messner from Germany in 4:15:48. Basically, it was the oh fucking hell,
Marjolaine.
Marjolaine, Marjolaine
Did you
Pierre.
say
Um,
marjoram?
yeah, my
Is that
brain just
oregano?
disappeared on me. I've been doing so well. I've been doing so well. Anyway, it was the Pierre show on the day with her taking the lead on the bike and never relinquishing it, not once. And when she gets out on that run and she gets the hair out and she's just absolutely banging, it was it was a real performance for the ages, and I think she showed her quality and power in the most obvious way, I think.
Yeah. Again, just a complete masterclass. An athlete that I
Yeah.
also, really, really like to see do well. Some other little things that are worth pointing out in the women's race. Lizzie Rayner's second place. Lizzie Rayner's another. We've spoken about a lot this week, right? Those sort of names that you sort of start to see pop up a little bit. I'd put Steph Clutterbuck up there as well as another example of this. But Lizzie Rayner, second place in this field, this race is a statement. So I think Lizzie Rayner's about to start getting a lot more attention, which is great. And I also want to just give a little shout out to Nikki Bartlett because as Nikki put up a post this week, it's she's had some stuff going on in her life that kind of similar to what we were talking about with Hannah DeVeet, where not ideal preparation for a race. I think to get out there and get fifth place for Nikki with the fastest run split, exceptional. So congratulations, Nikki Bartlett. Again, we love to see you do well, Nikki. And
Yeah, yeah, we got to give all the love to Nikki. Fifth place. Like we've both spoken to Nikki offline, and she's not had the ideal run in this year to her training and the season ahead. So to see her come here and come fifth, excellent. And I'll echo what you say about Lizzie Rayner. I think we're about to see her take a real step. I mean, we've already seen her take a real step. She won Ironman 70.3 Portugal last year. She came third in Valencia already this year, and second in Ironman Aix-En Provence now. Second place in a field like this with the performance that she gave, a real step in the right direction, and underlining that we're about to see an athlete hopefully go on to much greater things.
I agree. Now we're doing so well for time. We're about to wrap it up, and I know you've got to go. So we're not going to go through the actual race much. I just want to quickly mention that Ironman Chattanooga happened without a swim. The swim was cancelled, which seems to happen in Chattanooga a lot. I'm just going to go through the results. Men's race, first place Sam Long, 3:08. Matt McElroy in second place, 3:11. Ran a 1:08, mate, which is really good. Third place Jason West, 1:08. Sorry, 3:12. Fourth place Sam Appleton with 3:13 and Ari Clow 3:13. Now, just interesting, Ari Clow is known as one of the better runners in the sport. He was running a 1:12, so basically 1:16, where you've got, Matt McElroy and Jason West both running a 1:08 and Sam Long running a 1:10. So, really good top five there. Pro women race, first place Grace Alexander, 3:46. Second place Jess Smith, 3:49. Third place Carolyn Olsen, 3:50. Fourth place Adele Lincoln, 3:51. And fifth place Carolyn Kaplan in 3:52. So congratulations to everybody over there in Chattanooga. Disappointed the swim wasn't included. Very interesting conversation in the WhatsApp group this week around races without a swim, whether they should be qualification events for pro athletes. I really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you, everybody, for that. Jimbo, if people want to find out more about Talking Triathlon, what do they need to do?
If you want to support the show, jump on at patreon.com/talking triathlon. If you want to follow Tim, he's at tford14 on Instagram, and I'm at bale.james85 on Instagram. We are on Instagram as at talking triathlon. If you join the Patreon group, you get access to the monthly bonus episodes on the social group, and you get access to the WhatsApp group, which is a never-ending source of interesting conversation and dialogue, but it's also a really supportive and interesting place where no one there is. You don't get the general toxicity of the internet. If you're not in the Patreon group, you want to have a conversation, you want to reach out, leave a comment on the YouTube video, and we will come back to you there, I'm sure.
Really good conversations on this week's or last week's episode. Really, again, really appreciate that. So thank you to everybody. Jimbo, thank you, mate. A pleasure as always. I hope you all have a good time. Talk to you later.
Cheerio.